The warmth felt unfamiliar. It wasn't from sunlight or comfort, it was from stillness. When your eyes opened, the ceiling was different, presenting the room clean, cleaning, and faint calling was beyond tears, and the sound of quiet humming from the next room. That definitely wasn't home. You sat up slowly on the bed, realizing where you were. Jungkook's apartment. You looked around. The space was minimal but spacious. Warm wooden floors, large windows with soft curtains, a clean desk by the wall. A blanket had been tucked carefully around you. Is doing, you guessed. You stood up your bare feet pressing against the floor. You weren't used to peace. It almost made your chest ache. In the living room, you found him in the kitchen. His back was to you, hoodie hanging off one shoulder, hair messy, humming off key while cooking pancakes. "You're awake?" he said without turning. He stayed silent. He glanced over his shoulder and smiled. "I make terrible pancakes, but there is syrup to make up for it." Still, you didn't speak. He walked over, placed a plate on the table, then sat down across from you. "You can stay here as long as you need, no pressure." You lowered your eyes. "I'll find somewhere." I said, "It's fine." He cut in gently. "I'm not doing this to get anything from you. Just let me offer you peace, even for a little while." The sincerity in his voice did something strange to your chest. You nodded barely. He smiled again, this time smaller, softer. That night after you showered and dressed in oversized hoodie he gave you, you stepped onto the balcony. The city lights sparkled far below, and there he was, leaning against the railing, shirtless, tattoos winding up his arms, a cigarette balanced between his fingers. He didn't notice you at first. The wind tugged at his hair. You watched quietly for a moment, your heart clenching. He turned when he felt your presence. "Can't sleep?" You shook your head. He smiled faintly. "Me neither." His cigarette glowed orange in the dark. You hesitated, then whispered, "Smoking will kill you." He looked surprised by your voice, then chuckled, "So will everything else?" You didn't smile. You just looked at him with those soft, pained eyes, the ones that always said too much without speaking at all. He looked away first. Then his voice low and teasing, "Then give me something better to be addicted to." You froze, so did he. For a moment the night held its breath, but before he could respond, he dropped the cigarette and crushed it beneath his foot. "I was gonna quit anyway," he said quickly, scratching the back of his neck, suddenly awkward. "Eventually." You nodded once and walked back inside. He stayed there for a moment, staring at the glowing city, whispering to the sky, "You're already my addiction." The next morning, the silence between you and Jungkook was different. It wasn't comfortable. It felt like something waiting to bloom. He handed you toast wordlessly before grabbing his backpack. "You're coming to the school, right?" You nodded. It was your first time walking to school with him. He didn't hold your hand or hover. He just walked beside you like he was silently saying, "I'm here if you need me." The walk was peaceful. School, however, was not. As soon as you stepped into the corridor, the whispers began. "She's living with Jungkook?" "No way, Mia is going to go crazy." You kept your eyes down, tightening your grip on your back. Jungkook seemed unfazed, though his jaw clenched slightly as he walked ahead of you. In the class, he took his usual spot. You sat at your desk near the window. The classroom buzzed louder when Mia strutted in. She glanced between the two of you, then gave you a sugary sweet smile laced with venom. Morning while you said nothing. Wow, no hello, she laughed to her friends. Must be busy playing house with Jungkook now. You flinched slightly, your fingers curling on your lap. Jungkook heard it. He slowly turned, eyes bold. Mia, shut up. Her smile froze. What? She scoffed. I was just saying. I said shut up. The class went silent. Mia flushed and looked away, muttering something under her breath. Her friends giggled nervously, but no one said another word. During lunch break, you stayed behind, pretending to organize your notes. You didn't want to go to the canteen, not today. You had barely unzipped your bag when Jungkook's shadow appeared beside your desk. You're not eating, you shrugged. He looked at you for a long second, then sat down beside you and took out his lunch. Fine, then I'll eat here. You blinked. He grinned. You don't talk much, but your company is not bad. You stayed down at the edge of your desk. Are they right? You asked suddenly, your voice barely a whisper about the rumors. Am I ruining your image? Jungkook's chopsticks paused midair. He turned his head slowly. Then he leaned in just slightly, his voice low and serious. You're the first thing in this school that feels real to me. Your heart stuttered in your chest. He looked away, ears burning. He smiled and resumed eating like he didn't just say something that made your entire body feel tight. That evening, when you returned to his apartment, the front door was already unlocked. Voices came from inside. You peeked in Thong and Jimin. They were seated on the floor, half screaming over a video game, snacks scattered everywhere. Jungkook looked up from the couch and waved casually. They barged in. Jimin turned. Oh, Wine, right? You're the famous silent girl? You nodded slowly, unsure. Theung smiled warmly. We were wondering when we would meet the girl who tamed our Jungkook. Jungkook threw a cushion at him. Shut up. They laughed. You didn't say much, but they didn't seem to mind. Come sit with us, Theung said, patting the floor beside him. We don't bite. He might. He pointed at Jungkook. You slowly stepped in, removing your shoes. After a few minutes, you excused yourself quietly and walked into the kitchen. Jungkook looked confused. Where are you? But he stopped when the smell of spicy rice cakes and egg rolls filled the room. You were cooking for them. Jungkook watched you in disbelief. Theung nudged him. She's a keeper. Jimin smirked. He's already wet. Look at his face. That night, after the food and laughter, after Theung and Jimin left, promising to return with more games, you found yourself on the couch beside Jungkook, your knees almost touching. He looked at you. You always take care of people, don't you? He asked softly. You nodded slowly. Who take care of you? Your throat tightened. You didn't want to speak, but something about the way he asked made you answer. My mom, she died when I was 13. He went still. My dad fell apart, married someone else. She wasn't kind. Her son was worse. Jungkook clenched his jaw. She made up a dip. You didn't look at him, but you felt his hand reach out gently, brushing his pinky against yours. You didn't pull away, and neither did he, not from his pinky, not from the warmth, and for the first time in what felt like years, your body didn't race when a boy touched you. You were still, but not because of fear, because for once it felt okay, maybe even safe. Jungkook noticed he didn't move either, his pinky lightly hopped around yours, the touch so small, so gentle, and you wonder how something that subtle could cause your heart to ache like this. I will never hurt you. You don't ever have to talk if you don't want to, but if you do, I will always listen, he said quietly, like he was promising something sacred. You didn't answer, but your eyes glistened with unshed tears, and he saw them. You stayed like that for a long while, just sitting in silence, breathing in the same air, letting your shoulders relax, letting your heart slow. Next day it started in the corridor. You were simply walking to class, head low, bag tightly gripped in your hand. You had gotten used to the whispers, the stares, the occasional brush of someone's shoulder, but today the voices were sharp. Look, it's her, that silent girl. She really lives with him. She's lucky if Jungkook likes you, even being trash gets you noticed. You flinched, but kept walking. Then Mia came. She was leaning against the locker with a cruel smile like she had been waiting to show to you. Well, she said, stepping into your path. Didn't take you long to climb into his bed, huh? You stopped in your tracks. Her friends snickered behind her, phones already out like this was some performance. I mean, Mia continued, voice syrupy and sweet. A girl like you, poor, white, plain, you had used. You clenched your jaw, fist curling tightly at your sides. Do you think he actually likes you? She leaned closer, whispering only for you to hear. You're probably just some side project, a quiet broken little thing for him to fix. Your throat tightened, you couldn't breathe, and then she said it. People like you are only useful for one thing, and once he's done, he will toss you aside like everyone else in your life did. You didn't respond, you just turned and walked away, but something in your chest cracked wide open. You didn't even realize your feet were moving until you found yourself behind the old school building, far from the classrooms and the noise. No one came here. The place smelled of forgotten cement and damp leaves. An old bench sat crooked. You sank down onto it slowly and cried. Not loud sobs, not fists pounding the wall, tears, just quiet ones. Tears that slipped past your defenses, the kind that had waited too long. You hugged your knees tightly, burying your face. Maybe Mia was right. Maybe you were disposable. You didn't even know why Jungkook was being kind. What if it was pity? What if the way he looked at you was just curiosity dressed as care? Maybe the whole world saw you as broken, and maybe they were right. One, you jolted. You turned quickly, and there he was, Jungkook. Standing a few feet away, hoodie half chipped, backpack still hanging from one arm, very clear in his eyes. I have been looking for you, he said, breath slightly raised like he would run. You looked down, wiping your face with your sleeve. Don't, he said gently, walking closer. Don't hide when you're hurting. You tried to stay silent, but the words escaped anyway. I didn't ask you to come. I know. Then why are you here? Because I could not be, he said simply. He sat beside you, not too close, just enough. People said something again, didn't they? You didn't answer. You didn't have to. Jungkook leaned back, staring at the sky. You know what I used to think? That strength was about being feared, about having everyone shut up when I walked past. I thought if people were scared of me, they couldn't hurt me. You turned to him slowly. But then you slapped me, he chuckled under his breath, and told me strength was about kindness. You blinked through blurry eyes. That's when I realized you're stronger than me. You didn't believe him. You never believed when anyone said that. But he turned to you, then eyes serious and soft. You don't need protection, Juan. You have survived so much already. You looked unashamed, then stopped trying to protect me. He went silent. Then he whispered, "But you're the first thing I have ever wanted to protect." You looked up, stunned. His jaw clenched like he hadn't meant to say it aloud, but it was true. Jungkook had never wanted to protect anyone. He would push the world away, let no one close, and now here he was, sitting beside a girl who barely spoke, a girl everyone whispered about, a girl who wore her pain like skin, and he wanted to protect you more than he would ever wanted anything in his life. That night the apartment was quieter than usual. You both sat at the small kitchen table, dinner between you. Instant noodles, light steak, seaweed flakes, and a few rolled omelets you had made earlier. Your chopsticks hovered above your bowl when you reached for the soy sauce at the same time as him. Your fingers brushed, you froze, so did he. You looked at each other, not moving, barely breathing. Your hand lingered against his. Did it touch you this time? You asked, voice no louder than a breath. He stared at you, eyes unreadable. Then he said softly, no, but you touched something deeper. Your chest fluttered. You looked away quickly, heart thudding in your ears. He slowly returned to eating, his hand pulling back, but not before gently brushing against yours once more. This time on purpose, and this time you let it happen. The rest of dinner passed in silence, but it wasn't the uncomfortable kind. It was the kind where every moment felt like it meant something, where silence carried weight and each stolen glance was a question. After dinner, you washed the dishes quietly. Jungkook stood beside you, drying them. He didn't speak, and neither did you, and everything about that moment felt unlike the hush of night wanting to bloom into something new. Afterward, you went to your room, or the room as you still called it, but you didn't sleep, you couldn't. You found yourself sitting by the small window watching the sky darken, wondering if it was even possible to feel this safe and this scared at the same time. That's when the faint click of the balcony door caught your attention. You rose slowly, padding across the apartment. The balcony door was open and Jungkook was standing there, bat turned to in his fingers. The soft glow of the ember flicked like a dust and heartbeat. You stepped out quietly. He didn't notice until you gently closed the glass door behind you. His shoulders stiffened. He quickly took one last puff, then stepped against the railing, trying to hide it. You didn't speak, he said. I didn't think you were awake, he said, not turning around. I was, you replied softly. He stayed ahead into the night. The city lights flickered like stars. The soft hum of traffic below, a lullaby for the wounded. You said you would stop, you murmured. He winced. Yeah, I did. You watched his side profile, the curve of his jaw, the tension in his neck, the guilt in his eyes. I'm not mad, you whispered. I just don't want you to need something that hurts you. He turned to you slowly. And what if I said I have already found something better to get addicted to? You blinked, surprised, like what? His eyes didn't leave yours, then so gently you barely heard it, he said, your lips. Your breath caught, heart bloomed across your face. He took a small step closer, then another. His voice was low, careful, like he was terrified you would vanish if he spoke too loudly. I want to be addicted to your laugh, your voice, the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching. You looked away, heart pounding. He reached out slowly, his fingers brushing a strand of hair from your cheek. I don't want to rely on smoke anymore, he murmured. I want to rely on you. You felt the string of tears behind your eyes, but they didn't fall, not this time. Because this wasn't pain. Why me? You whispered, Jungkook smiled. The first time I saw you, you slapped me, he chuckled. You blinked. But instead of getting mad, I started thinking she's different. You weren't scared of me, you weren't like the rest. His voice softened again. And then when I saw you cry behind the building, when I realized the world had been so cruel to you, you looked up at him. He looked like he meant every word, like you were the only thing he saw, the only thing he wanted. You could feel his breath now, the distance between you was gone, and then quietly he said, then kiss me. His eyes widened slightly. You stepped forward, heart hammering in your chest. If I'm going to be your new addiction, I need to know how it feels. His smile, soft, reverent, like this moment meant more than just lips meeting lips. Then he leaned in and kissed you gently, carefully, as if you were something precious he didn't want to break. Your fingers gripped his hoodie lightly, grounding yourself as your wool spun. His hands hovered near your waist, not grabbing, just resting. The kiss wasn't desperate, it was full of promise of healing. When you pulled back breathless, he pressed his forehead against yours. I'll never smoke again, he whispered, if I can have this instead. You nodded, your voice trembling. Deal. Later that night, curled under the soft blanket in your room, you touched your lips and smiled. For the first time in forever, they didn't feel like they belonged to silence, they belonged to someone who listened and loved you anyway. It's the end. Thank you for watching.